Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today we're going to be going back to some old favorite eyeshadow palettes and we're going to ask ourselves the questions. Are these gems or are they junk? Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. I have a ongoing series that I do every month where I like to go back to some palettes that I know I love, or if I've rearranged color stories, to use them to see, do I now like them better than what I had before? And that's the case actually in today's video. All four of the eyeshadow palettes that I had selected to be using in July to go back to see do I still like these or not was after I had rearranged those color stories. So let's get to it. In case you're unfamiliar with the channel, hi, my name is Maaike. I love chatting about makeup on here, but I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, which means that not everything looks the same as it does on everybody else. I've been trying out makeup for more than a decade, and I love eyeshadow palettes as a cicatrice and getting the use out of my makeup. So if you're down for that, then I hope you would like to consider subscribing by clicking subscribe down below. So first things first, I haven't had a whole lot of chances to really be playing with this because I was just really stuck in like trying out K-beauty stuff still. And I thought that because they were all quite neutral and I was like, oh, it's only 6 palettes, I'll probably be able to get a lot of use out of these slightly bigger, older palettes to go back to. And that just didn't end up being the case because I've found a couple of these K-beauty color stories. It was like, oh, but I want to do 2 or 3 looks with these rather than just the one. And so I was just stuck doing my makeup with that a lot more than I was for the most part with these. So I've only done 1 look with 3 of these, and then one of them I haven't even used at all. But since it's a similar vibe to some of the other palettes that are already here, I know I can talk about it and I can tell you how I feel about these right now. So what am I talking about? In today's video, we're talking about my reorganized Anastasia Beverly Hills Jackie Aina palette, because I hadn't gone back to this just yet. The reorganized Natascha Denona My Dream, the reorganized Natascha Denona Glam palette, and my reorganized Retro palette, also by Natascha Denona. So in case you don't know, if you've never been here before, I like messing up my color stories once I feel my palettes are getting a little bit older and there maybe are just a few shades that I end up keeping a palette around for. That was definitely the case with some of my ABH palettes. So last spring, I think I took 6 palettes and turned it into 2. 1 more warm toned and 1 more cool toned purpley leaning. So if you want to see me reorganizing those palettes, and also for the Natascha Denona palette reorganization, I filmed that as well. So make sure to put those videos in the description box down below so you can see what shades ended up in these palettes, because I now no longer know exactly what these are. I would have to go back and film that, like watch my own video for me to figure that out. So I did 1 look with the ABH Jackie Aina, and this is what she looks like right now. I believe this is shades from the Prism, the Sultry, the Modern Renaissance, the Jackie Aina, the Norvina, and the Riviera. Those are the 6 palettes that I reorganized. So I know that this purple is from the Jackie Aina, because that one broke as it fell. That's the only thing. And I believe this is Twig from the Sultry. I believe these 2 shimmers are from the Riviera, if I'm not mistaken. This may actually be from the Norvina. Yeah, I think so. And I'm pretty sure that this is Soul from the Norvina palette as well. And then there's like a mix of things in here. So it's cool tone neutrals with a pop of pinky purple. That's sort of the vibe we went for in this one. These were the shades I wanted to keep from all of those palettes. Some of those shades I knew for sure. This is something that I have to hang on to because it's my favorite shade in the palette. And then I just split those shades into a warm tone color story and a cool tone color story. The look I ended up doing with this was very purple. And I think that now that I have all the purples from those different palettes together, from the Riviera, from the Jackie Aina, from the Norvina, that now I'm very successful at creating a purple look with these shades. I'm not someone who, when they are still in the palettes, that I have the mental capacity to be able to take like 3 or 4 palettes and create a look that way. I never really do that. I stick to my palette. But this way, I feel I can get a lot of use out of it. So I did one look with this. I just started off with this in the crease, and I used some of those purples on this end. And I believe I used this shade right here as a more sparkly sort of shimmer for the lid. And I felt that that was a very successful look. I'm now very happy that I'm able to get more use out of my ABH eyeshadows now that they've been reorganized. I definitely think that it not only narrows things down for me, but it's been very, very helpful. The way I took these out, by the way, is using a hair dryer to loosen up the glue, and then you can just, you know, take them out with a palette knife or something like that. You can usually do that. So that's the Jackie Aina revamped, and I really like mine. Then what's on my eyes today is the Natascha Denona Retro palette. Now, I already mentioned that I have a video where I reorganized 4 of these mid-sized palettes by Natascha Denona. So I have the Retro Glam that I have already used again since reorganizing it. I did that last time, so that's why I was like, you know what? It's time to try and use these and see whether I like these color stories a little bit better. As I was filming that video where I reorganized all of these, I discovered how many mid-tone shades you get in Natascha Denona eyeshadow palettes, which is why I think if you have deeper skin, this may not be right up your street. But with this one, I ended up with a very sort of what I think the retro should have been like, perhaps, because the retro had a couple of purples in that I felt were always a little bit misplaced. So I made like a rosy warm toned palette with this one, but it's still really, really neutral. I ended up popping this one all over my crease, and then this shade is all over the lid, and then I used the black for a bit of liner, and I used this shade and this shade in the middle on the lower lash line, and I think it worked really well. Oh, and I popped this in the inner corner. Really successful, really, really lovely. And I think that this is just, now that this is reorganized, I am loving these so much more, because within the Natascha Denona midi palettes, there are always a few shades that I feel don't really go. And now that it's been reorganized, I just love it a lot better. And now, as I'm filming this, I haven't done this look yet, but I know I will be using this one tomorrow, which is the final day I can actually still take pictures and like insert them in the video. So I know that tomorrow morning, before I head out the door to go to Oberhausen, I will be creating a look with this, but I'm gonna have to film and edit the video before then, and then this video can go live on Friday. So that's sort of the way it's been going. So this used to be the Glam, and in here I ended up putting all the more cool tone shades from the Retro, the Glam, and the Retro Glam that I felt didn't go into my new revamped Retro Glam, which is all the cool tone shades plus the greens. I stuck the multi-chrome from the My Dream in here. I believe these like plummy things are from the My Dream in the Retro. And then we just have a lovely array here of mauve tones and like taupey things that pull a little bit more warm toned as well. So I'm actually thinking that tomorrow I want to do a look with this, because I'll be out all day, so I don't want to wear anything too dramatic because it's just going to smudge everywhere, because I'm traveling tomorrow and I'll be out of the house for like 15 hours. So yeah, I think I'm gonna just stick to these 4 here and maybe stick that pinky shimmer from the Retro in the inner corner and just have a nice like taupey moment, maybe pull in the multi-chrome somehow. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, I do really enjoy the look of this right now, because we get some more plummy things like down the bottom here. And then we also have that, I believe this one is from the Retro, where it just can tie this entire row together. And then some of those taupey bronzes from these different palettes that I think I just like a lot better together. And then finally, the one that I won't be using this time around, but I don't think it's that much of a shame. It is the most warm toned of everything I've created, and it's the shades from the My Dream. And this just has some more orangey leaning tones. I did put these 2 pinky tones in here because I didn't have a spot anywhere else, but at some point in time, if I ever feel like rearranging these again, then I may just pop this into a different palette, because I love this shade. I believe it's also from the Retro, or maybe from the My Dream, I don't remember. But it's like a pink with a gold flip, so that's why I feel it goes better with some of these. And then here you can just see that bottom row of mattes, how warm toned this goes, but I love this darker brown that's in here. Oh, I should put that in there. So this darker brown is just a lovely shade. It really reminds me, like this just gives me, I happen to have it here, but this palette gives me Nabla Analog vibes. I'm not sure if they still do this, but this little cutie palette, like, do you just see what I mean? It's got very similar shades in, so... I have that sort of look in that 6 pan right there. But yeah, I love some of these shades in here. This orange in the middle, when I was using it, when I first reviewed this palette, I ended up liking it a lot more than I had expected because warm tones are just usually not my vibe. And this way I have all the golds and all the browns and all the warm tones together in a palette that I think can just work a little bit better for me. So yeah, I think that now that I've reorganized these color stories, I've completely rekindled my love for these Natascha Denona palettes. I knew I already liked them before because I really enjoy the Natascha Denona quality. Like the eyeshadow quality is some of the best on the market, but I just feel that the color stories are sometimes a little bit boring. They don't quite give me what I want from a color story. And so that's why I'm like, you know, do I want to be spending 69 euros again on a new Natascha Denona palette and like Pokemon try to catch them all and collect them? But like this, I can rekindle my love just by simply rearranging them. And these can very easily be rearranged because they have the little dots in the back. You can stick a pin in and the pen will just lift out. I love it. It's been great this way, and maybe next year around this time, I might feel like I'm a bit bored with these again and I might rearrange them again and film that again for you. But we'll see how things go. For now, I really enjoy these new color stories that I've created. The Anastasia is going to be more challenging to, you know, take apart again if I'd ever want to, because some of those are now in there so tightly because I thought they were exactly square pans. But they're not, so some of them I've squashed in there, so I'm not sure if I could ever get them out again without breaking. But yeah, those are not necessarily meant to be taken out. The Natascha Denona ones definitely are. So yeah, I think that in the future, maybe a year or two from now, I'm going to be doing another Natascha Denona palette reorganization. Maybe by that time, she might have come out with some more palettes that I can add into the mix. So far, nothing has been released that I felt needed to be added into the mix. But yeah, maybe we'll see where that brings us. I really enjoy these color stories. I just know I do. And I really hope that this way I can also inspire you to get more use out of your older palettes. I know so many people here on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, it's always about the new, buy. But I think that this way we can get so much more use out of our eyeshadow palettes, even if they're older, even if we feel a bit tired with them. You know, the Natascha Denona, no, the ABH palette I have here contains shades that are at least 6-7 years old, and they are still fine to use. You just have to be a bit more mindful, of course. Make sure you have clean brushes and all that and check for mold every single time you go in there. But in terms of the way they blended and the way they performed, they still perform really well. So why declutter perfectly fine makeup if you feel there's only a handful of shades in a palette? Take them apart, take them out there, put them either in an empty palette, or if you have a lot of palettes with the same sort of pan size, you can do what I did with my ABH palettes, and you can just reassemble a palette together, and that's way I just feel so much more inspired to get more use out of my makeup and make it last so much longer, and you don't have to chuck everything, and you can still hang on to the shades that you love from those palettes. So that's the way I feel about these, and I definitely feel I can get more use out of it, and hopefully this inspires someone out there to do the same to their makeup collection, because we don't need to buy all the new stuff. We definitely don't. So thank you so very much for joining me today. I really hope you enjoyed watching today's video. I definitely had fun playing around with these again and filming this for you. This is a video series I'm definitely going to be keeping doing because I have so many other eyeshadow palettes that I still need to go back to at some point. So if you have any requests of eyeshadow palettes that you know I have, and you want me to go back to them and get my opinion on how I feel about them so many years later, then definitely let me know. I can do that for you. But for now, just know that I'm going to be kicking off eyeshadow palette month very, very soon. And in August, all we're going to be talking about is eyeshadow palettes. So I hope you would like to stay tuned for that. Thank you so very much for joining me today. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more by me. And then I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.